opening statement.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's always an exciting time of year to be here. Season starts for us next Friday. We get a chance to get back on the field, and I've always said the best part of football is actually football. So we get to get back to doing that. We finished up last year strong. We had 3 big wins in conference to finish the season, plus 81 point differential. We had 6 players drafted off of last year's team, the most in the conference. Had another 6 players signed free agent contracts. So we have to replace 12 players that are now on NFL rosters, trying to compete and make teams in the National Football League. We have 21 players on this current roster that have graduated already. 20 of them are in grad school. Because of COVID, I think we're a very old team, and that experience I think will really help. We've had great leadership from that group of guys. The 2 players we have here today, Stephen Blaylock, a 5th-year senior who will start for 5 years for us and really is our captain in the back end of the secondary, and then John Gaines, an offensive lineman for us, has started every position on the offensive line. Johnny graduated college in 3 years. He's getting his master's degree. He'll get his master's degree. He'll finish this December with an undergraduate and a master's degree in 4.5 years. And I think those 2 guys kind of epitomize what we're looking for in football players and are great representatives at UCLA. So with that, we'll open it up and take some questions.
Hey Coach, Jamal Madney, Los Angeles Football Network. 2 questions for you. First, obviously the running game has been such a bread and butter of your systems dating back to Oregon, and in particular the 2-back system. Obviously this year, big year expected from Zach Charbonnet, preseason Doak Walker Award winner, really going to have a centerpiece season. Who are you seeing as emerging as RB2 as a nice compliment to Zach?
Yeah, that's a great question. Zach obviously had an outstanding year, and I think he's one of the top running backs coming back in the country. Keegan Jones will be back for, I think it's year 4 now with Keegan. Keegan's done a really nice job for us, had a great spring and is working extremely hard. Casimir Allen, who we moved to receiver, but is cross-trained as a running back, also has experience playing there. We have a young freshman in Deshaun Morrell, who we redshirted last year, who we're expecting a lot out of. So there's a group of guys in there that we're trying to get to emerge, but obviously Zach being number 1 is makes you really comfortable.
And speaking of Kaz Allen, obviously in the spread system, kind of having that versatility at a rover position, Percy Harvin in the Florida days, DeAnthony Thomas with you in Oregon. How do you see Kaz Allen, and does he have the opportunity to kind of be that Swiss Army knife for the offense this year and kind of get a healthy buffet of Kaz that we saw a little bit at the end of the SC game last year?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he's a versatile returner for us. He's really made an impact as a wide receiver. It was 4 years ago. He was the state 100-meter champ here in California. He obviously has game-breaking speed. He's got tremendous vision and instincts when he's running the ball. So, our job is to try to find out how many different ways we can get Kaz the ball.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Hey Coach, Sam Connon from All Bruins. Talking about Stephen, he I think is one of 2 guys who's played every game since you've been coach. How important is it to have that kind of consistency, not only the experience of a veteran, but someone who can be in there every single day?
No, good point. We've always talked about the best ability is availability at times, and the fact that Blay has not missed a game, he's really been a stalwart for us back there. He's truly the captain of our defense. He makes all the calls in the secondary and on the back end, and having him at one safety and Mal Osling at the other safety. Mo's a 6-year kid coming back. I think it makes you feel pretty good, but I think it's a credit to him on how he takes care of his body, the time and work he puts in the fact that he hasn't missed a game is really kind of special, and I think he's got a chance to set a record for most games ever played at UCLA.
And then Jake Bobo made the Biletnikoff watch list last week. He's kind of a guy, a type of receiver you haven't seen too much of on this UCLA roster over the past few years. How do you think you're going to be able to use him and have him connect with Dorian this season?
Yeah, him and Dorian already have a great rapport, just going through the spring and working together. Jake's got an unbelievable work ethic, but to have a 6'5" kid on the perimeter as an outside receiver, he's 220 pounds. He led the ACC in catches last year at Duke. And I think everybody when he played Duke knew that he was going to get the ball thrown to him, and he still made the catches. He can make contested catches. He's got an amazing work ethic. He's a really, really smart kid, which I think kind of goes hand in hand with being a Duke grad. He's doing a great job in grad school for us right now, but I think having a weapon like that on the perimeter that's going to take more than it can beat one-on-one coverage and is going to dictate some double coverage at time. I think we'll open up some things for some other people, and if they do choose to cover him one-on-one, I think Dorian's going to be really excited about that.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Coach. Will from LA Football Network. You're entering year 5 with Dorian as your quarterback, and that is an eternity, in the ranks of college football. We talked about Stephen Blaylock, we talked about Osling, but how has Dorian grown as a leader and player since you've been able to be the coach for the Bruins?
Yeah, it's very fortunate. I don't think there's many situations that are like that in college football right now, but I think he's grown in all aspects. Obviously, he's physically matured, from when he came in as a freshman 5 years ago. The work he's put in physically in the weight room, trying to make his body stronger, bigger, faster. He's done a great job there, and I just think the amount of snaps he's taken are invaluable. And I think that's the one thing that the NFL is always looking at is how many snaps has this kid gotten at the college level, so that he's prepared for the pro game and the chance that he had to come back and play another year and get some more snaps underneath his belt. I think is beneficial, and I know when he made the decision to come back, we were all very excited.
Yeah, and then just the last question I got for you. A couple key transfers added to the secondary: Azizi Hearn, Jalen Davies, and you mentioned Blaylock, who's speaking to media over there, Osling, as well as a young kid, Devin Kirkwood. This on paper feels like it's going to be a secondary that's really going to go out and make some plays this year. What have you seen thus far from them in the springtime?
Very competitive in the spring. I think we got size now in the secondary, with Kirkwood and some of the guys we have on the perimeter, 6'3" plus corners. Mo's a 6'2" kid. Kenny Churchwell played really, really well for us in the spring at safety. Kenny's a 6'2" kid. Blay is a big, solid, downhill, physical player. Aziz Hearn is a 6'2", 205 kid. So I think from what we came into and where we are now with our secondary looks like what that secondary should look like.
Thank you, Coach.
Hello, Coach. Kenneth Berry, Touchdowns and Tangents. In regards to Dorian and the legacy that he's left in the Pac-12 and just in college football, do you feel like he still gets the respect that his production is warrants as far as the other top QBs across the country?
Can you repeat that again? I missed the first part.
With the legacy that Dorian has left behind at
Sure.
UCLA and all the things that he's done, do you still feel like he gets the respect that he deserves nationally?
Yeah, I don't really get into what's going on nationally or how people talk about other people. I know within our program, he gets that respect because he earns it every single day from our players. And I think everybody will be excited, and we're looking forward to him having an outstanding season for us.
And obviously everybody's talking about USC, what they're going to do, all the upgrades, but the way that you guys beat them, do you feel like UCLA truly runs the city? After all this time, after all these years, do you feel like UCLA truly runs LA?
I am not going there. I think it's an historic rivalry because you have two Power 5 schools that are in the same city. And there's not any rivalry where there's such proximity between the two schools. There's so many players at SC that played high school ball with the kids that are on our team. When they decided they played high school ball together, but now they play college ball against each other. I think it's what makes the rivalry unique. There's such a split and a faction of, there may be even families that some are SC, some are UCLA. I think it's what makes rivalries great. So, who runs the city, who doesn't run the city, I'll leave that up to the voters, I guess.
And with this team, the 8 wins, historically, UCLA has had moments where they've captured national headlines. But when you look at your coach career, you look at the teams you had at Oregon, where do you feel like this team is going to kind of establish itself amongst all the teams you've coached?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt said comparison is the thief of joy. So I'm never going to compare this team to a team I coached 10 years ago. Had some special teams when I was there, special memories with special players. But I'm really, really excited about this football team because of the type of kids we have in our program right now. They excel in the classroom, they excel in the community, and they really finished the season off very strong last year. So we're just excited about getting an opportunity to get out of the field and get going this year.
Joe Reedy, Associated Press. Chip, with your tight ends, with Dulcich being drafted by Denver, how is that sorting itself out?
Yeah, we were excited. I think Greg was the number 2 tight end off the board. I was actually Russell Wilson had texted me before the round started to ask questions about him. So I figured they may be interested in him a little bit and really excited. Greg's just an unbelievable story. He came to UCLA as a walk-on wide receiver, and left as being one of the best tight ends in the school history, at a school that's had some unbelievable tight ends, with Charles Arbuckle and Mercedes Lewis and a bunch of guys like that. So, but I think the overall depth we have at the tight end position is as good as it's been since I've been there. With Mike Martinez, Mike Ezeki, Hudson Habermal, Dave Preeby, and then we added 2 freshmen in Carson Ryan and Jack Peterson. We're really, really excited about that group. We feel like we can play 3 and 4 tight ends at a time. They're versatile. They can play multiple positions. They can be receivers. They can be running backs. But they can be in the hand on the ground tight ends. So I'm excited about our tight end class, and I'll take our tight end depth over any team in the country right now.
And then just what has the last 4 weeks been like for you since the news that UCLA is going to the Big Ten in 2 years? Has there been more in terms of recruiting? What's the reception just been?
Yeah, it's been interesting, to say the least. But I think the 2 things we always have been a priority for us has been, number 1, our team, and then number 2, this season. I think guys that are here today, like Blay and John Gaines and Dorian and Zach and those guys, they won't be here in 2 years. So I think when I got the news that this was going to happen, that was my first question, when. And then when we found out it's 2 years, I think that puts a little bit different spin on it. So our sole focus and attention is making the 2022 season as memorable as we possibly can be for our players. I talked to Merton Hanks after it happened, and between Merton and George, they both assured me that the Pac-12 is totally supportive of everything that we're doing. If we're members for the next 2 years, they're going to do everything they can to support us as a member. And I think, in my experience dealing with administrators, both George and Merton are as classy as they can be. So it's obviously a unique situation. I've never been in it before. But I think the biggest thing is to focus on what we can control, and what we can control is right now in the 22 team, and that's what our focus is on.
Blair Angulo at 24/7 Sports. Chip, what kind of impact do you anticipate the move to the Big Ten having on UCLA recruiting?
Well, it's been positive so far. I think the conversations that we've had with the kids that are in high school right now, because it's really those are the guys that it impacts. I think that's we've noticed that as an uptick as a coaching staff, and have talked about that. But I think it's something that will play itself out over the next 2 years.
Do you feel like it'll change the dynamics not only in Los Angeles but across the West Coast or even nationally?
Yeah, I don't know, because I don't know if expansion is done. I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know where this is. I think people last year at this point in time, we all sat in here as a conference of 12 and talked about what Tennessee and Oklahoma were doing going to the SEC, and now we sit here talking as a conference of 12/10, and I don't know what the next domino is to drop. I don't have a crystal ball. One thing I do know about this game, and everybody complains about the game and where it's headed and all those other things, but I think the product on the field is as good as it's ever been. I think the coaching that's going on in college football right now is second to none. And I think when you can get engaged with the players that I've had a chance to meet today and the 2 kids that we brought here today, the best thing about college football is the players. And we have some tremendous players, and I think it's incumbent upon the people in charge to kind of work out all the differences that are going on at a higher level. Because the resource we have right now, which are our players, should be the attention. And we got to keep the main thing. But the young kids we have right now that are playing football are awesome. I've had interactions with Ron Stone Jr., Washington State today, which is a great young man, Caillou Kelly at Stanford, and Tanner McKee at Stanford, and the rest of the guys, and they're special. And we should be talking about them. We should be talking about the season that all of them are going to have here in 2022, and not talking about expansion at this point in time.
Adam Grossbard, Orange County Register. Just to piggyback off of that, does it impact the type of players that you recruit, knowing that in 2 years you'll be competing against, say, Big Ten offenses and things like that?
No, I don't think our recruiting model changes. Really, we don't talk about recruiting, we talk about team building. We're a developmental university, and we need to recruit kids that want to be developed both academically, athletically, socially, and spiritually. So that won't change what we're looking for and what we think fits at UCLA. The fact that we have to play some games that are a little bit farther away from home doesn't really affect that or change that. So we're not going to drastically change what we do from that standpoint. We'll see how it all shakes out in 2 years, but I don't think anybody has a crystal ball of what it's going to look like going forward. But I want to recruit Stephen Blaylocks, I want to recruit Zach Charbonnets, I want to recruit John Gaineses, and we'll continue to recruit those type of young men.
Hi, Coach John Gold, Saturday Out West. We hear a lot about chemistry in the locker room. You guys have 6 new assistant coaches. Is there such thing as chemistry in a coach's room? And how have you seen that come together?
Yeah, there is. I don't think we have that many. I think it's 5. But I think we're very conscious of who we bring on staff as the same way as the players we bring in. And to add a UCLA legend like Ken Norton Jr. and get a chance to get Ken to come back home. I think everybody in Los Angeles knows Ken, and to add him to staff was awesome. And it was really neat for me to just watch our defensive staff with Billy McGovern and Akaika Malloy and Chad Koahaha all jive with Brian Norwood, and then we added one on offense where we lost our special teams coordinator to be the offense coordinator in Nevada. Bring Jeff Ferris in, who we knew had been recruited to the West Coast a long time for Duke. So, I really enjoy our staff. I think we've got a bunch of men that are great mentors and great leaders and great teachers. It's a fun group to be around. And I think our players model kind of the relationships that our staff has, and I think our staff is extremely close.
Billy Witz with the New York Times. Chip, you talked about the academic.
East Coast guy covering a West Coast school?
Yeah, how about that?
Okay. Interesting.
You're going to be playing. You're going to be playing an East Coast schedule.
I'm joking, but trying to bring a little levity to this.
Just, I've heard you talk. You alluded to it a little while ago in other arenas of talking about the importance of academics with your players here, and how does taking these flights back east, playing Rutgers and Penn State, Maryland, where these are cross country trips, how do you imagine that's going to impact student welfare and just from a time crunch, from what it does to bodies taking long flights?
Mm-hmm. In football or Olympic sports?
Well, all. But I mean,
I can't speak for Olympic
speak for
sports,
football.
but in football, it's a one-day trip, and I don't think the impact that it has really truly affects anything from a human body experience. When I was in the National Football League, we did a sports studies science, of games played on East Coast and West Coast. It happens all the time in the National Football League. You're only there for probably 18 hours total. You fly in the night before, you go to sleep, you get up in the morning, you touch your toes, you play a game, you get on a plane, you go back. So I don't think it will affect our sport, to really be honest with you. So I don't think it's that big a deal. And I think, again, when you look at it, you only play 4 away games a year. So, in the course of 12, that's, 25% of your games. And, where are they? One of the away games could be USC. So I know we're not getting on a plane to go to SC, so that's going to be a short bus ride. So I hope that doesn't take too much out of our guys. So you can go to Lincoln, Nebraska. It's at 1,149 miles from our campus. Seattle's 1,135 miles from our campus. So sometimes we go on farther trips in our conference now than we would if we did that. But I haven't looked at it very much, so I can comment any longer.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Joe Reedy from the AP again. Chip, how far is your campus from Piscataway, New Jersey? Have you done the calculations on that?
2,765 miles. It's a 4.5-hour flight if you're going west to east. It's longer because the weather goes across the country. So coming back would be a little bit longer. So we hope that we win, because then you don't worry about how long the ride is on the way back. But that's incumbent upon us to make sure we take care of business if we do have to go play at Rutgers.
Just coaching in the NFL, talking about those trips east and stuff, how much would that NFL experience help doing that?
If I had those players, it would help a lot. I don't know. I mean, again, we're talking things 2 years out, so I think we can address it. Again, it's an awkward situation for everybody. I've had a great experience in this league, and I owe a lot in my life to the Pac-12, and I appreciate what this league has done. But I was in this league and it started as the Pac-10, and then when I was early in my career, we added Colorado and Utah, and we were all excited about adding people. So it is what it is. It's realignment. It's going on. It's governed by television, and those are things that are out of my control. As I try to preach to my players, and we talked about modeling things for them earlier, is let's control what we can control, and I didn't control any of it. So I found out about a half hour before everybody else. Well, I found out probably after John Luna found out, because he finds out before everybody finds out. So it is what it is. I didn't have a vote. I didn't have a say. I'm gonna coach my guys. I'm gonna hang out with the players we have right now. We love them. We're gonna be really close to them, and hope that we have a good experience with this whole thing. But the focus for us is the 2022 season.
Just focusing on this season,
Mhm.
your first three are at home, non-conference. Looks like an easier non-conference schedule compared to the past, but just, you have early kickoffs.
Do you know why?
I
This
know,
is
Mi-
ironic. We
I
were
know
supposed to play
Michigan was
Michigan.
dropped, yeah.
And the game got dropped. So
Just what
crazy.
about,
It's crazy how the world turns around, huh?
just what about the early kickoffs, your first three games?
We practice in the morning, so I love early kickoffs. You know, I'd love to play early and get up and go. That's our internal clock is, you know, we're on the field every day at 9 a.m., so, you know, we're used to that. That's something else that's conducive if you have to go play a game in the East Coast time zone. An early kick wouldn't affect us because you're going to kick off at 12 o'clock on the East Coast. So we have two early 11 o'clock kicks here on the West Coast, but we're used to playing early anyway. So if for some reason we get put in that slot, I know some of the people have talked about maybe playing an earlier game. We did it once during COVID. We played a Sunday morning game versus Cal at 9 a.m. College kids are pretty resilient. You know, they just want to play. They just want to get up and play. I think we all do the same thing. We don't want to wait around all day. We just want to get up and play football. So the fact that we got to play a game at 11, we're excited about playing a game at 11. If you tell us we got to play at night, we'll play at night. You tell us we got to play in the parking lot, we'll play in the parking lot.
We have time for one more. Blaise Collin, the Blue Pennant, France and Quebec. So about this big...
We're not going to Quebec. We're expanding, but I don't know if we're going that far. So.
I want to play with you.
Okay, we'll play the Alouettes. We may expand.
So about this Big Ten move, have you talked to any of your underclassmen about the fact that some of them might not be too excited to play far from home? Or is it something that you will only address, well, in a couple of years, basically, when the move actually happens?
Yeah, we're not moving, just so no one gets that wrong. Like, we're not moving school or anything like that. We might play a game or two a year, but, you know, we played at Cincinnati earlier in our career here, so we played games on the road. So our players get excited about the challenges of playing against really, really good teams. And if that's going to be the case 2 years from now, then that'll be the case 2 years from now. But you know, the younger classmen that we've talked to on our team are excited. You know, they're excited about the opportunity to play football. But we're really focusing, as we talk to them about it, is that's something that's going to happen later. It's not going to happen now. What's going to happen now is the 22 season, and there's a lot of talented football players in this conference, and this is going to be a great year for the Pac-12, and we're excited about that. So.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you.
We'll have USC